Hello class, welcome to week 14. We are just about done with US history. I mean, we're getting close to the end of the semester, right? And the good news for everybody in the class is that this class we're going to be able to finish this up. There's still a potential for next semester being seriously disrupted. But for now, we're just going to be having this 2-day strike starting tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday. So I want to remind you that I will not be corresponding at all. I will not be answering emails. I will not be grading. I will not be on Canvas. I will not even be logging in. Okay? And that's all I can do in solidarity with the strike as an online instructor, especially that's not living in Modesto right now. I can't recommend anything for you to do if you want, but if you do want to do anything in solidarity with the professors, contact someone there, and they'd be glad to have you in support and solidarity. But that's up to you, and any feelings you have on this are completely valid. This is what we feel the need to do at this point, and it's unfortunate. So that's all I want to say about that. And actually, that's not all I want to say about that. Let me just back up for a second. I want to clarify something, because it's public record. You can look how much we make online if you want to really try. Every adjunct, that means all of us part-timers, which are quite a bit. So I can't speak for the full-timers. I can only tell you what I know as a person who's working for MJC as a part-timer. We, on average, we can only teach up to about 3 classes at a time, or one extra large class. It's like this kind of like doubled up, and then another class. So essentially 3 classes are all that we're allowed to get. And that means that we roughly make, on average, somewhere between about a little over or a little under $2,000 a month. That's it. And so I just want you to know, I saw somebody kind of trolling on one of the pages saying with our, what's the word, about large pay. And I was like, well, not that large. And not only that, I just want to make this clear. We don't get paid for the time that I'm putting into making this video, or for the grading, for the corresponding with you, or making any lecture. We are only paid for the hours that are counted as classroom hours. So most of my work I do actually outside of the classroom hours, and I don't get paid for that already. So of course I don't feel like doing more work for no pay. Nobody wants to do that. So I just want to clarify the reasonableness of our demands, that we're not these spoiled people. And I know that I'm traveling, around the world right now, and that looks very like I'm making tons of money. And so I'm just clarifying that I sold all of my stuff, and I told you this in one other video, but I want to clarify. I sold all of my stuff, most of it, don't have a place to go back to, and I've been staying with people that I know. This is how I've been able to afford to do this. And I am making, last month my paycheck was a little under $2,000, okay? And it helps when you get to stay at a friend's house, like I'm doing right now. Okay, and I do contribute. But anyway, that's another topic. The bottom line is, we're not just spoiled, whiny social justice warrior snowflake professors that blah blah blah. I've been seeing all these little posts drive me nuts, whatever. So now, returning to the topics of this week. We are getting into the nitty-gritty now. We're going into, bam, Civil War, U.S. Civil War. Very interesting in a time like now, right, where everybody in America gets along so great, right? So, okay. This is why now. There's some of you that I'm reading your comments. They're looking suspiciously like you're not reading the book. And if this week happens, I'm going to write to you personally and ask you which numbers, where you're getting the information from. I don't want to see you just echoing what other students say. I'm not saying this a lot, but I'm seeing it. Okay? This is for your benefit, to understand how we got to the point of where 500,000 Americans killed each other. Like, for what reason did this happen? And it was slavery. And in this week's module, if it's not clear that it's over slavery, I don't know, I would really like you to write to me personally and explain to me counter information that you think would justify a different interpretation. And actually, I would appreciate that. I mean, part of why I actually speak so strongly on this topic is because I had a friend who was convinced it's about states' rights and that this is all a conspiracy and this whole slave question and blah, blah, blah. I took the patience to listen to over an hour podcast by somebody, and then I listened to another hour-long lecture by a guy with a PhD in economics who's this libertarian. And he's like, it's all about the economic tyranny of the federal government. It's just nonsense. And it's nonsense because none of those people have addressed the fact that the southern states said why they were leaving, why they were seceding. And they said it was over slavery, as you will see. And that's why I want you to look at those declarations of secession. Very clear. Now, where the confusion happens, and you're going to see this as we go over the lectures, is that Lincoln just gets elected, and the southern states assume, or presume, or however you want to look at it, they see that he's definitely going to get rid of slavery. I would argue that it's not 100% clear whether or not Lincoln would have actually attempted to force the South to not be a slave state or not. I'm not really sure about that. But they were sure. And in their being assured in their minds, just knowing that this is what's going to happen, they decided to secede because they were desperately going to protect the institution of slavery. And Lincoln made the argument, you don't have a right to secede. So it's true. For the North, originally, the argument wasn't about slavery, it was you can't leave. And the South said, yes, we can. We're going to leave because we need to protect our states' rights. No, our property rights. Our property of human beings that we own. And we're going to support that, and we're going to make that. Look at the Texas one, where it talks about these terrible ideas of human equality. I mean, just read these declarations of secession. Please, that's what you got to do. So let's not have any lack of clarity about this. This shouldn't be a debate in America. It's the greatest conspiracy of our time, I think, is that Americans are still having arguments about what the Civil War was over, when the people who actually got it going actually already said what it was about. And by the way, Lincoln, before being president, said what he really realized is that a house divided cannot stand. The nation would have to be full slavery or no slavery because it's not sustainable to have some states not having slaves and other ones having slaves. That was his comment before, right? The slavery issue was a big issue for a long time. And, and again, I talk about it not being over racism. I didn't say the North was less racist than the South. I said that there was an anti-slavery argument being made. Okay? And right after the Civil War, there was the Modoc War, which I used to show a documentary on. I don't think I'm going to have time for that. That the U.S. military consolidated power and took the rest of the land that they could from Native American people. That's after the Civil War. So we got a lot of stuff going on here now. And I want you all to understand this, okay? That's what's important to me. So I'll be basically unavailable for those 2 days, but then you can hit me up with any other questions. I'll be around, okay? And today, right now, it looks like it's 5:33 a.m. Monday, your world, and it's going on, close to 3? I put my clock over there, but it's kind of like mid to late afternoon over here. So have a good week, and we'll be in touch.